Hello, this video is going to help you with Activity 2.2.2, Media and Apartheid in South Africa. By now, you should have read all of the lessons in the unit, and this activity in particular does more specifically deal with civil rights in South Africa and media and apartheid in South Africa, which is this reading right here. This reading is part of the actual activity itself. It talks about the anti-apartheid movement, and if you remember, apartheid was a strict set of laws enforcing racial segregation in South Africa. And as you may remember from the readings, one of the largest protesters, one of the most popular protesters of this movement, of the anti-apartheid movement, was Nelson Mandela. And anti-apartheid basically meant going up against those who supported the apartheid movement. So the white South African government was up against people who protested apartheid. This activity in particular, you're going to have to read through this excerpt from a book called Kill the Messenger. It talks about the media's role in the fate of the world, and in particular, it talks about South Africa. Essentially, we're looking at how media plays a role in affecting campaigns, businesses, government policies, and in the case of South Africa, we're looking at what are called divestment campaigns. So if you read through the instructions, you'll see that you're going to be asked about divestment campaigns. So what role did a divestment campaign have in ending apartheid? And the word divestment, if you've heard the word investment, it sounds really similar. Investment means that you are investing in something. You are wanting to be a part of something monetarily, emotionally, in whichever way that you can. Divestment means that you are taking yourself out of that situation. You are taking your money and going somewhere else, taking your attention, going somewhere else. So a divestment campaign is essentially a form of protest in which you refuse to purchase something. You refuse to buy something. So after you have read this excerpt or this small section of text, you're going to be looking at these posters. And these posters were actually created by the anti-apartheid groups. And these were based in the United States as part of the movement's divestment campaign. People from all around the world were protesting the apartheid, the racist policies of the South African government, the apartheid movement. People all around the world were trying to bring an end to this racial segregation in South Africa. Just like in the United States. And this became a very, very this became a huge global issue. People all around the world decided to divest, meaning that they were not going to buy, for example, here, Coca-Cola. They weren't going to buy Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola did have a production facility and distribution center in South Africa. And they were segregationists because that was the policy of the South African government. So as a business, they followed the policies. Now, Coke probably just wanted to make a buck and went ahead and agreed. But at the same time, they decided that maybe it wasn't very important for them to care about apartheid and that money was more important. So people were boycotting Coca-Cola. Same thing with Gulf Oil. If you look at this poster, it says there are but two sides in a war. She fights on the side of African freedom. Gulf finances the other. So Gulf was another company that was guilty of supporting, either directly or indirectly, the apartheid movement. And basically saying that racial segregation was okay because they just wanted to make a buck. All right. We're going to click on the Start button down here. And you're going to see a few questions about the reading that you're going to have to answer. So we're going to scroll down because that is something for you to go ahead and read on your own. And, feel free if you want to look at the questions ahead of time. Feel free to pause this video and look at the questions. That way, when you go ahead and start the assignment, you know what to look for already. But we're going to scroll down here to the written part of this assignment. And it basically says, in 3 to 5 sentences, share your opinion on divestment campaigns. So is using media to ask consumers to stop supporting businesses an effective method of protest? Why or why not? All right. It says, please refer to the format below. And also there's a rubric. You can go ahead and read that on your own. That just shows you how you're going to be graded. But here is your format that you can follow. Talks about having an introductory sentence, evidence, commentary, and a concluding sentence. You can go ahead and read through that. But essentially, you need to form a 3 to 5 sentence response to whether you believe divestment campaigns are useful in asking consumers to stop supporting businesses, or if they're not, and why. So we're going to just take a look over here. I created some sentence starters for you. And you can use these if you'd like to. These are just different sentence starters to help you get started and to continue throughout your 3 to 5 sentence response. You could start it this way. You could say, I believe that divestment campaigns using media are a very good way to protest. Or you could say that they're not. It's up to you. What do you think? The reason why is because, ... So what is your reasoning for divestment campaigns being good or not being very good to protest? We have seen current protests and boycotts to be successful. One modern example is, so give a modern example. If you believe that they are a good example of protest, what is a modern example? You can use the examples of Coke and Gulf. They were successful. There was also, if you remember from your U.S. history class, in the 60s and 70s, there were really big protests. A lot of Americans wanted other Americans to stop buying grapes from a certain company because they did not treat their workers fairly, and their workers also faced very dangerous workplace conditions. So you can think of if you can think of a modern example, great. More modern than what I just recommended. And if you feel like you need to do a little bit more research online, please feel free to do so. Just don't copy and paste. Rewrite anything in your own words. And of course, always provide the exact resource that you use. In other words, the website and the link to it. All right, and then always have a conclusion. In conclusion, using media to protest is useful because ... So these are sentence starters that you can use. Essentially, you need to have 3 to 5 sentences. That's how you're going to be graded, and you're going to share your opinion on if you think those divestment campaigns like Coca-Cola and Gulf and even the grape campaign, if using media to ask consumers to stop supporting businesses is effective. Why or why not? Okay, and feel free to use your own examples. I know several people that refuse to ever use Amazon because they believe that they are taking away from small businesses, and that is their form of protesting. Granted, they're not going online and saying, boycott Amazon, but that's just their own individual way to do so. All right, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact your teacher through chat, email, phone, or you can send them a text message. Thank you.